do the boomer video later? Cool. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming, and thanks for listening and watching the live stream. Should I move my mic down, Jared? Yeah? We're good? Okay, cool. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate you taking the time. As you know, this is a fast developing story about COVID-19, and we're trying to stay on top of it with information from our State Department of Public Health, from the Colorado Department of Higher Education, and from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, and from my governor's office. So we've been in constant contact with the governor's office through phone calls and emails, and our Department of Higher Education is acting as a liaison between the governor's office and our campus, trying to keep everyone up to date and up to speed. So we have made a decision that we are going to move to Blackboard-only instruction for the 2 weeks after spring break. So beginning on March 23rd through April 3rd, those 2 weeks after spring break, we will use Blackboard-only instruction. And we know there are some classes that are intensive, hands-on, lab come to mind, some field experiences, some clinical experience come to mind. We know that there are some things that cannot be on Blackboard, but we're working with the faculty members in those classes who will work with you, students individually, to identify what could be done on Blackboard and what cannot. At this point, Blackboard-only instruction, again, is March 23rd through Friday, April 3rd. The intent is that we're going to be able to have face-to-face classes again starting April 6th. If that is not possible because of the change of the scenario with the virus, we will make a determination around April 1st or 2nd. Okay? That's the first thing. We'll send out a press release to that effect, but I want to read a couple of things just to reiterate. So in response to the public health emergency related to COVID-19 and to ensure the well-being of our campus community, the community of Alamosa, and the greater San Luis Valley, Adams State has made the decision to temporarily move all classes to Blackboard for a period of 2 weeks, March 23rd through April 3rd. So again, that's the week after spring break. Adams State has no knowledge of any COVID-19 incidences on campus. Nothing has been reported in the valley, or definitely not in Alamosa as well. So we're doing this to just inhibit any spread or bringing in any infection to our region. So we're taking, again, the following steps. Classes will be delivered online via Blackboard. Students are asked not to return to campus after spring break because you will continue your instruction via Blackboard. If you cannot leave campus, we know some students, this is home. Some students don't have other arrangements or who cannot or do not want to leave. We will work with each student individually. The approval process will be contacting our housing department and working directly with them to determine who will be able to stay on campus, okay? So no one should feel like they're being kicked off and they're out there without some place. We will have something for you. Okay, so I want to walk through some frequently asked questions, and hopefully you probably have questions that we will address going over this document. Is that an okay way to move ahead? Okay. If we could pull that up, that would be wonderful. Okay, and this will be live on our website as soon as we leave the meeting. Okay, is the university closed? No, the university is not closed. It will remain open. Obviously, it's open during spring break, technically, where most of us will be here. And it will stay open even effective March 23rd. However, we will continue instruction via Blackboard, okay? I'm going to give you a chance to scroll that if you want, but I want to move on to the next question. What are we doing to protect your health, the community's health? So the health and safety of, it's kind of making me dizzy going back and forth. The health and safety of our community on and off campus is forefront in our decision. So we are making the move to Blackboard courses for a 2-week period to ensure everyone's safety. This message on March 12th, you're hearing it now live. Some of you probably have a hard copy of it by now. Making this decision was not an easy one and wasn't something we took lightly. So we're taking this virus, the potential of it spreading very quickly, very seriously, and we want to make sure everyone is healthy. I'll repeat myself because I think it's really important. There are no known cases here on campus, in Alamosa, nor in the Valley. Coursework, how long will classes be delivered Blackboard only? It's going to start sounding repetitive really soon, but March 23rd through the Sunday before March 6th, right? Right now, that's the period of time we're keeping classes on Blackboard only, right? How many of you already use Blackboard? Impressive number of our classes have Blackboard as their learning management tool, so this is an easy transition in some respects for most of our classes. Can I attend? I live here in Alamosa. Can I attend classes? No. They're only going to be delivered via Blackboard. If I leave campus for spring break, and during this 2-week period where classes are only available on Blackboard, you need to just pay attention to the time zone you're in. Faculty will hold the classes based on the current time schedule of Colorado Mountain Standard Time, and if there are any time modifications to when a faculty member will hold a class, they will let you know. But all times that you see posted will be our current time zone. So if you're at the East Coast, West Coast, just pay attention to where you are so you make sure you're in class or you've logged on to Blackboard at the appropriate time. Clinical labs, some hands-on experiential field study experiences. We're working with the faculty to identify where those special circumstances require a student not to be able to use Blackboard, and we're working with the faculty directly who will be in contact with you via Blackboard about how certain requirements will be met during that 2-week period. In some cases, an assignment may be moved, but work with your faculty directly. They will let you know what will happen during these 2 weeks. If you need a laptop, any student or faculty who needs a laptop, we have laptops that can be checked out, so you can, if you are planning to travel home or planning to travel somewhere where you're not certain that you will have a computer, we can check out a laptop for you. We're doing that through the library. Our library on campus will be able to check out the laptops there. Okay? Is that helpful? So if you need a laptop to make sure that you can stay in contact with us, we can check you out a laptop for students or faculty. Okay? I said this earlier. Yes, ma'am.
What if the student does not have internet where they don't have internet at their house or
Yeah, sure. We're working on, yeah, I will, yeah. We're working to make sure students who do not have internet access at home can find a place to get access. We're talking about securing hotspots maybe, but we're working with the state to see how we can get those rather quickly. But we also have remote, if you're here in the Valley, we have remote access stations, community access stations. There's one in Atenito, there's one in Fort Garland, and there's one in San Luis, right? So we're going to, it's not in this document yet, but we're going to put the hours of those remote access stations. So they will have computers, internet access, access, but those remote community access stations were set up earlier this year? Yeah, earlier this year. So if you're in and around the valley, you can get to internet that way at one of these remote access stations. But if you find that you have a need, you're not certain that you will have internet access at your home or wherever you're going, let us know, and we're trying to figure out if we can get hotspots. There's a question over here. Yes. Yes, thank you. If you are here in Alamosa, or you're one of the students who remains on campus, the sub-computer lab will be available 24/7. It also will be cleaned regularly as well and disinfected. It's really serious. We've got to stay on top of what we keep open and disinfect and make sure that it's a safe place for you to use. It is now.
To teach through correspondence. So if the need arises and you have no internet access at all, we will be able to mail the teaching materials to you, and we'll just have to use the old snail mail system for that short time.
We're definitely trying to make sure that you can maintain your instructional opportunities. We don't want anyone leaving the class. We don't want anyone leaving their progress towards class completion, towards degree completion. So we're going to move mountains if we can to make sure that either you have a laptop or a hotspot or something to get you access so you can maintain your progress. Yes, ma'am.
So if we don't have internet access at home, can we come back, like we live on the apartments, can we come back after spring break and live in the apartments because we have internet access here?
Yes, you
Grab,
can.
grab the mic.
Yes, you can come back to your apartment because the university is really not closed, if that assists you. We are recommending that students not come back after the spring break just because of the purpose. But if you absolutely need to, contact the housing units, just like we said in the earlier statement, or if that's coming up, and and we'll take care of that. Yes. Sorry, Kevin.
And if you still wanted to stay at home, if you still live nearby, you could just come into the 24-hour computer lab and still stay at home if you'd like.
I've got a couple right here. Go ahead. Yep. Yes, ma'am. Our classes canceled tomorrow. We had not canceled them tomorrow, no. There are no known cases. There's no reason to cancel classes immediately. The issue, frankly, is when we all leave campus and then try to come back. That's when we're on heightened alert to this. So currently, there are no known cases. There's no reason for us to believe that we're at risk at this moment. Again, it's when we leave and come back that we know the risk will be greater. Yes, sir.
I've been curious about the advising and registration. How is this all going to work if we're not coming to school during the times of advising and registration?
Advising and registration itself is done electronically. It's done online. Having that conversation with the advisor, we will make our advisors available for office hours, if you will, advising hours that can be handled by phone or can be handled by email. So the opportunity for those conversations to continue. We also have the opportunity to Zoom or Skype. So that you shouldn't feel like you can't, have that conversation with someone on campus, because you can over this 2-week period. There's someone up here had a question. Yes?
A lot of our students were concerned about being able to come back and get their supplies.
Say it again. I didn't hear it.
A lot of our students wanted, they're not knowing that this is happening yet, we're concerned about being able to come back and get their supplies and stuff to work with at home.
Oh, the art supplies. Oh. They're available now, right?
Yeah, some of them already left for.
Yeah.
Hey, we have classes tomorrow.
The question was if some of the art supplies, the students wanted to come back, be able to come back and grab their art supplies so that they can work on that stuff while they're home. And that answer would be yes, they could come and get that stuff.
The university is still open. Yeah. So, and it will be after spring break. Yeah. Okay. Can I can't move home. Oh, we're gonna make sure you have. So anyone, again, I'm saying this now for maybe the third or fourth time. Do not feel like you are being displaced. We want to ensure that every student who lives on campus is stress-free about this. We will be able to continue with you living here. We just need to know who you are and where you are on campus. Okay? Yes?
So in the 2 weeks after spring break, are resident assistants going to be required to come back? Like if I want to go home and stay, am I going to be forced to come back?
That's a decision that will be made by the Director of Housing, and he'll contact RAs if they're required to come back or not. I believe if you had a spring break position or you were here to stay for spring break, you will be here for spring break, and then the 2 weeks will be discussed with myself and the Department of Housing, and we'll determine whether or not those RAs come back those 2 weeks. Okay? I think we'll be able to run it ourselves, but we will let all the RA staff know.
Okay, back here.
Just a point of clarification. So the housing number that's listed on this information sheet and on the document is incorrect. The last 4 digits are 7227. It's also available on the website.
Oh, that's my
Oh,
number.
that's his phone number.
Pass around. Jesus Christ.
Okay, thank you. Right here was a question, Ronnie.
Maybe we should keep going.
Right, the university continues to be open during this Blackboard instruction only period.
So I think maybe if we get through the rest of the document, I know a lot of these questions might be answered through that, because I know that one is for sure.
Let's keep scrolling, and then we'll come back if it doesn't get to your questions. So the spring break, the dining halls are not open, right? The grill or La Mesa is not open, but we'll have something open for those who remain and have meal plans. We'll have something open the 2 weeks after spring break as well. Whether it's La Mesa or the grill, we're not certain yet, but something will be open for those who have meal plans. Okay. If you want to forward your mail, there's the mail that you get over that 2 week period. There's a way to do that. Let's go ahead. Okay. So we're using guidance from the Colorado Department of Personnel and Administration. That's our guiding, if you will, state regulatory policies. So we're following that. So if employees are still expected to work on campus, right? So if you're expected to be on campus as long as you're not symptomatic, as long as you haven't been exposed to someone with the virus, and as long as you're well. The expectation is that the university is still open and that you will be here. In fact, we will be using a lot of the spring break time and the weeks after spring break to do massive cleaning of the campus to ensure that it's safe for return, right? So we're going to make sure that we take advantage of the period of time with most students are gone to do any deep cleaning for the university than just to be safe, okay? So employees are expected to be here unless you're not well. Then we can work with your supervisor to follow that process. Are you an employee?
Yes. So what about us that travel as recruiters in different school districts?
Yeah. We're suspending university-related travel.
Okay.
Yes, during that period of time.
It's coming.
It's coming up.
Hang with us, it's coming up.
Wait, are you asking an employee work question? Okay, cool. Okay, So the question is, if the students aren't here, why do I have to show up? Well, students who are here live together in very close proximity to one another and often in the same room, in the same suite, on the same floor. That's a different arrangement for employees who are not usually that close at work to one another. The campus still needs to be open, and we still need to get a lot of things done in terms of making sure we're safe and clean here, right? So the living arrangements for students on campus is a very different expectation and a very different environment for the faculty or staff. So again, if you're well and you haven't been exposed and you're not at risk, the campus will be open. If you come in contact with someone, should I come to work, you can go to, again, to the Colorado Department of Public Health fact sheet to determine what you need to do as an individual, because we all want everyone safe. We don't want someone coming sick who could potentially cause others to be sick, right? So there are tons of guidelines here about what you should do. And if I just want to point out, we can go back to it in a minute. At the top of this frequently asked questions document, there's a local SLV Health nurse triage phone number. So if you think that you might have symptoms, you would call that the hotline they've set up. That's open as of today. The hotline is set up, and you can call the number if you think you have symptoms. It's not a number to call and say, hey, I just heard about this COVID virus. What is it? It's really designed for people who have symptoms or think they have symptoms. We've got tons of information on our website with links to all sorts of places to learn about this virus. And if you're like me, the more I read about it, the sicker I feel like I'm getting. I'm such a hypochondriac. I mean, I'm convinced that I have this now. But it's the more you read, the more you want to know, the more you want to be careful. Trust me, I think I've washed my hands about 80 times already today. So make sure you read this, that nurse triage number is only there if you have symptoms, okay? So let's quickly go through this section. All of the things we do to protect ourselves from the common cold and the flu are the same kind of things you're doing for this, right? You're washing your hands, you're using hand sanitizer, soap, you're using Kleenex to cough into, you're not sneezing on someone else, all those things that you have. Typical protections you take now, you want to continue those. Okay, keep going down this if we can. All of this about what you do in emergencies. How do I know if I'm an essential employee? I loved it. I found out I'm not essential today. It was so exciting. I'm not essential. No, what am I?
Critical.
Oh, no. Is that a higher level than essential? Oh, I thought I had gotten out of it. So there's information here for employees, and we'll work with you if you have questions about, is my role critical? Am I an essential employee? Most of you know when there's any kind of campus emergency or campus-wide issue, you probably are aware of your role on campus, whether you're considered essential or critical. Okay, events and meetings, another important thing. We have suspended events on campus, anything larger than 25 people, during this period of time. So that also means that, so any groups, the conferences that were coming during this period of time, we're going to have to postpone or cancel. And I'll jump ahead to something that's at the end. That means that we're not doing campus tours, not hosting visitors on campus during this time, just out of precaution.
So does that include knowledgeable as well?
Say it again?
Yes.
Now, yes.
Knowledgeable.
Is that a group, that event that was coming on campus? It includes it. Yeah. Let me go back to you, Dr. Rogers. You had your hand up earlier.
Okay, so my question is the expectation for faculty and students that we hold class during our regular class period? Or can we create videos with lectures and materials and upload those to Blackboard for students to access?
It is completely faculty-driven, however the faculty want to do it. They just need to communicate to the students as much as they possibly can.
Okay, so then my next question follow-up to that would be then, so if we create our lectures and our materials and upload them to Blackboard, you still want us to come sit at our desk during our class period, even though there's no students here?
Not if
You
you
would
can
hold
do.
the- Go
What's-
ahead.
Not if you can do this remotely. I
Okay,
mean,
well,
if you want to set up your class to be asynchronous, do it.
Okay,
Just meet the learning outcomes.
okay, I didn't understand that from
Okay.
earlier documentation.
They will hold them online. Office hours will be held online. So
There's one other thing that I would just like to point out. We constantly refer to Blackboard, and everybody in this room knows what Blackboard is, but the general community won't understand what Blackboard is. So you should have some kind of a note about that at the beginning of your announcement that goes out to the public. Blackboard is an online instructional environment or something. I don't think it says that necessarily
Cool. Okay,
in
it's
fair
in,
enough
I think it's in the
context.
document you have.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
One
I just
other-
wanted to make sure.
Okay, people have already asked about commencement. It is way too early to talk about something that happens May 9th. We are in March, and we're talking about the Blackboard-only environment for a 2-week period, right? So talking about graduation at this point is a bit premature. Yes, sir.
On that topic of synchronous, asynchronous, I think it's important to state that faculty that are anticipating wanting, needing to go live with Q&A and discussions with their classes, I think it's critical that they meet at their designated time,
Exactly.
okay? Because you can see the conflict that could arise.
Yep.
Now, asynchronous doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So I just encourage people to remember that.
Thank you.
With their
That's the
delivery.
importance of knowing your class time and adhering to that and knowing wherever you are that we're using Mountain Standard Time.
Right. And then I have another question. So one of my faculty, our ceramics professor, asked, there's so much work that can be done off-site, not with great ease, but still can we do some level of work? But is it okay for students to come to bring in their work to be further developed, meaning like in that case being fired in a kiln, if it's not a group request, it's almost like dropping off something, even like finished, in our case, artwork that could be graded, critiqued. There are ways to do that remotely, right? But in her case, could you answer that question?
So my approach to this is if all students can't come back, then no students should come back, is the way I look at it. So no, I would say they don't come back to do that. Just like I would say they don't come back if there's students close by, they don't come into the laboratories to do some work for a lab session. So we're going to do the best that we can during these 2 weeks, and we'll address those on a case-by-case study. I understand that where ceramics is coming from and some of the other clinical rotations and things like that. So.
Any students who are on work study now, who obviously will not be able to work during the 2-week period we're talking about, will still be able to be paid. You have to complete your timesheet as you normally would, and to designate your hours as you normally would, right? So that will continue so you don't miss the opportunity to be paid. We've gotten special permission from the U.S. Department of Education to be somewhat flexible with work study, and from the state of Colorado with state of Colorado work study money. So we have some flexibility there. We want to keep those payments going for students who currently have work study. Cool. Keep going. How do I protect myself? Again, we've got tons of documents. You can get to this link. It will take you to the website about things that you can do to ensure that you're safe and others around you are safe. Yes, way in the back, please.
I was wondering, how many hours would we get paid for the work study if we're not, would it be the average, or what would it be?
It would be the only hours that you've been working up to that point per week. So if you were working 5 hours a week, that was your regular work schedule hours, then you would be paid for that amount.
And so just the clarification, if you're an employee on campus, you do have to come in. If you are a work study on campus, you do not have to come in.
Thank you, yes. Again, everything that you want to know about how to ensure that you reduce the risk of becoming sick, we've got a ton of documents here, and the links will get you out to a ton of other documents, and you can read and read and read and read about this. Let's take one more question, but scroll up if you don't mind. Is it Mike doing that? Or Jerry? Go ahead.
So you say it's advised for students to not come after spring break, but for the students that live here on campus that pay for housing and their meal plans and all of that, how is that going to work out? Are we going to get that refunded back to us? Or?
Yeah, we're working through that actually with our Colorado Department of Higher Education to see how that would work, if there's a way to prorate that. So that's still to come. But obviously, if you paid for meals and you can't be here to eat them, you shouldn't have to pay for them, right? So we're trying to figure out the logistics of that.
And this won't affect, athletes here on campus with their scholarships or anything?
I'm not sure what you asked.
It will not affect your scholarship if you're an athlete.
Oh.
Scholarships are done, they're all set, all scholarships.
You are
Or financial aid,
Yeah,
correct.
there is no stop of instruction, right? So the semester continues. So it's not like we're, not having class. You're having class. It's just using Blackboard. So your instruction continues, and any scholarship student would continue with their same scholarship coverage of their tuition. Nothing's changing because you're still in class. It's just delivered in a different modality. More things about germs. You can tell how freaked I am about germs. I'm just totally freaked out about it. So I put a lot of stuff in here about germs. And you want to read the risk? Some of you may have parents or grandparents who are considered high risk. So you want to make sure they're aware of things that they can do, and when you're around them, to make sure things you're doing are appropriate. Will the library be open? Yes, we will have probably a different set of hours. We're going to post the hours each day, so you'll be able to check on our website to find out the hours. That's really, if you're not using online resources now, wow, you're going to be really exposed to some great online resources that have been there all along. You probably just haven't looked. The library website is on this document because you're going to find a gazillion, is that a real number? Resources that are already available online, and in most cases completely free. So you can access tons of library materials online from anywhere where you're using your Blackboard access. Let me get you, because you had a question earlier. Yes, please. Rex Gym is not going to be open, is it?
It will be.
For spring break or when?
Not for spring break, but after spring break.
The 2 weeks after spring break. And let me tell you, I work out there too. Please spray the heck out of those machines. I'm to the point now where I spray it before I get on it, because I'm not certain if anyone sprayed it, so I'm spraying it before I get on it, and I'm spraying it again when I get off it. So please practice safe hygiene.
So let me make a quick correction. The Rex Gym will be open even during spring break for regular hours and beyond.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we have students in our classes who end up becoming ill while they're away, or end up in an area that's quarantined, what do we need to prepare for as faculty to, like, even if we come back and we're teaching classes, but we have students that can't return, how are we going to deal with those students?
On a case-by-case basis, we need to, if you go to an area that is under a state of emergency or is considered, I've heard the people say the hot zone, a hot zone or a place where there are a large number of people with this virus already, with presumptive positive test results, you will need to self-contain, self-quarantine, right, for 14 days. That's the general recommendations. And it's stated here in the document. If you are exposed to it, you need to make sure that you're protecting your colleagues, your friends, your family, and taking the necessary precautions. You also need to let your faculty member know what your status is. I'm not back on April 6th because XYZ. So you tell them what took place, and the fact that you're trying to be extra cautious not to, I was exposed, I was on a bus with someone and I found out they had it, so I don't think I should come back because I need to make sure that I'm healthy before I come back. Yes, please.
Wait, and in that case, contact my office. I think that information is in some of the general information that we have.
Cool.
I was just a bit confused. Like I know you said work study are getting reimbursed, like getting paid for their weekly hours. The campus employment get, because I know it's not federal pay, so like will we be paid for the hours that we're missing out on as well?
For campus and institutional work study.
That hasn't been determined yet.
We'll need to get back to you on that. We're not sure.
Yeah, we know we have the exception to be flexible with state and federal, but Harry, I know that doesn't, you're talking about institutional work study. We're working on that. Thanks for asking that, though. Let me take one more question, and I want to make sure we get through this document.
So as directed towards more of the students, would we be doing like a temporary move out, or how much stuff are you expecting us to take back with us as we leave?
I'm not expecting you to take anything. We're talking about a 2-week period. I mean, if you want to, that's your prerogative, but it's your residence hall room that you're coming back to as far as we're concerned. Yeah, cool. Oh, yeah.
And your
Thank
laptop.
you. Please take your books and take your computer, yes. Any electronic device you need for your classes, please, please, please. Thank you, Dr. Rogers, for mentioning that. Technology support, how can I get help if I'm at home? I'm trying to log on and I can't get on. First of all, I would make sure with your device you're going to take with you, please log on to your Blackboard site before you leave campus tomorrow. Make sure you can get access so that if there's a problem, we can fix it very quickly. But if you're home and you can't get on, where's that statement about the technology? How do they get help?
So it's a little bit lower. Computing services and AITC both will remain open and staffed, so the normal hours, normal contact information for those offices available.
So we have the phone number and the email contact for computing services and for AITC. So if you're away and you can't get on, we can make sure that you can get connected with the technology folks.
I would say as well, we have remote support tools, so if you're having issues, we can actually connect to you as if we're sitting next to you to get your connected to Blackboard. Also, we have full access to the pro versions of Google Meet, so if you need to do meetings for advisors from the question earlier, those sorts of things, you can do large virtual kind of Zoom things through your Google account. Computing services can help you with that as well.
Cool. Can I travel internationally? No. And that's really out of your own safety. In fact, I think as of Friday, international travel is severely restricted out of the U.S. right now. So make sure you're paying attention. The U.S. Department of State can give you tons of information. We have a link on our website to it's called the State Department. So you can find out any updated information there very quickly. Question? Okay.
Yes, just clarification quickly around work study. You may go ahead and submit your timesheets now. We realize that the pay period isn't up yet, but please do go ahead and submit those. We'll take them now until the end of this pay period. So it'd be best for our office if you could go ahead and get those submitted prior to spring break. But if for some reason you are unable to do so, we will still take them at the regular time.
Cool. I have a personal trip. I've got a cruise I'm going on. Wow. Would strongly encourage you to reconsider that. Seriously, no personal international trips. Please do not get on a boat, a bus, a plane with a ton of people who could expose you to something. Be safe. Be safe. Can you travel within the U.S.? University sponsored, university funds going towards domestic travel cannot be used during this period of time. So if you had a conference you were going to and you were being reimbursed or covered by the university, if you were taking a recruiting trip to talk to prospective students, to prospective athletes, we cannot allow university funds to be used during this period of time.
So
Please.
just want a clarification on work study again. If you are not working because you're not coming back, you are, I guess, are you getting paid for the hours you are not working? I'm not entirely sure.
Yes.
Okay.
If you worked 5 hours a week in work study, you would submit a time sheet for that electronically.
Okay.
For those, the same hours you've been working all semester long, every week. Except for spring break.
That's correct.
Yeah. We're talking the 2 weeks after spring break during this Blackboard only period.
Dr. Lovell, what about the students that need accommodation services, that are getting accommodations through Afton's office? And how is that, when they're remote, how is that going to work?
The university is not closed, so those services will still be in effect. All accommodations are still in effect. Nothing changes. If there's some sort of question that comes up in regards to their accommodation, they need to contact Afton Gillespie up in the accessibility office. Just like they would, they all have that contact information so that nothing changes. Thank you for asking that, though.
Cool. So again, if any employee is talking about travel during this period of time, no, please. Our campus tours, no. And no visitors starting Monday. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a couple questions and concerns. So I'm a nurse, right? So I'm well vast. I understand what's happening, right? A couple things that may need to be considered, right? And I know you guys have a lot of resources, and I appreciate all the work you put in. The recs. That the virus will live for 3 days, right? And so I'm concerned that that might be a good petri dish, right?
That's a good caution. Okay,
something
cool.
to
Thank
consider.
Thank you.
Another thing is, I'm wondering what we do, since it's a 2-week incubation period. We're off of campus for 2 weeks, right? How do we, I mean, I almost feel like a 2-week incubation period should start, or isolation period should start once they get from where they came from, where they're bringing potential.
Right. That's why there's
You
a
know what I'm
2-week period of Blackboard only.
Right, but they're not allowed on campus during that time. What I'm saying.
I think I'm missing that. Say it again.
Yeah, so they still might be, oh, well, spring break went to 3 weeks now. Even though they're doing work, they're maybe doing it, you know, in California or wherever they're doing it. And then they come here and they're bringing back whatever they potentially were exposed to. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for hanging in there with me. This is not let me just make sure I'm very clear. This is not a 3-week spring break. This is far from that. Spring break is still March 16th through 20th only. March 23rd, we start Blackboard delivered courses only for a 2-week period. It is not an extended spring break. You are continuing to work on your classes, working with your faculty. If you have questions to your advisor, you can still get in touch with us. You have questions for financial aid, you're still getting in touch with us. The university is not closed. We're just taking some precautions to ensure that if you end up unknowingly getting exposed to something during your spring break period, we have that full 2 weeks to allow it to run its course to determine if you're sick or not, right? So that's important to understand why we're doing the 2 weeks. Okay.
Can I ask a...
Can we kind of try to have people stay with us for just a little while? It's starting to get kind of loud in here. It's hard for people to hear, so thank you very much.
Please, go ahead.
So one question that's come up with students already, and that is specialized software that they need to complete their courses, and I would say half of them at least do not own that software, like Adobe, like in the case of graphic design students, you know, and unfortunately I, you know, kind of kidded with them about getting a free trial, but that only lasts for 1 week. And so if we're talking 8 weeks.
Can they not log on through our system and get access to it that way?
So I think what you're proposing or thinking about would be maybe like a remote desktop into the lab that has the specialized software. Is that sort of what you're thinking? We're looking at one of the vendors that we work with that does our remote support has offered free licenses for that sort of remote desktop.
Okay.
We haven't actually gotten that agreement signed to see if we can do that, but that would be a great use case for that to try to open that up. So we'll look into that and get back to you.
Great. We have several classes like that, and a lot of concern and anxiety surrounding it. And just because I need to hear this from a higher pay grade than myself, is so our seniors that have worked 4 years and they're looking forward and working their butts off to do their senior exhibition, are they not going to be able to do that now? And this is coming in late the last week or so of April, to give you some context.
Okay. Yeah, at this point, we're only talking about through April 3rd. So that hopefully that's not an issue that we have to address, but it's good to know that the timing of those events. And as we're learning with some events are still happening with no one watching live, no one in the arena there, right? So someone can still do their performance or could still do their exhibition without people there, potentially. I mean, we're going to be creative if we get there, but we're not there. We're talking April 3rd. Right. Please.
So I have an exam scheduled the week after spring break, so I can put that online, but I know the online classes, you can have like a monitoring for students to take their exams. Is that going to be available to everybody? Isn't there a charge or a fee for that? And how's that going to be handled?
Is there?
For the undergraduate classes, there is a proctoring vendor that is going to be available during that time. And in case of the nursing with responders, there's an additional, they use a different vendor, and that's going to be available. In fact, the vendors are really helping us out and helping all of the universities around the country. We're not the only one like this. This is going on all over the country. So we appreciate your questions. Just keep in mind that we're not the only one in this boat.
Okay, I'll call Fonz.
We're definitely not the only ones in this boat. In fact, most of the information you see people are putting out are all the exact same pieces of information with the same grammatical errors in them, because we're all using each other's documents, right? So we're definitely learning from what others are doing. We're definitely trying to stay up to speed as announcements come out on a regular basis. So we're working hard to, as a community of higher education leaders, trying to figure out the best practices and the best way to handle these events.
Hi.
Yes, please.
So I just have a quick question. I understand that this is, I understand that some people are taking this lightly and when they shouldn't be, but I just had a question for when we do come back after the 2 weeks, or the people who weren't here and then do come back. So we're for instance, in the dorms, we're doing health and safeties this week. Is there any possibility that we can do something like that with a possible quick questionnaire when people do come back to ensure any extra safety on that?
I lost your part about what you're doing in the residence halls now. Ken, do you want to?
Right now, we're just doing health and safety, they come in and check if our rooms are clean and whatnot.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to know if they would be willing to do that again.
We will absolutely explore. I know what you're talking about. We'll explore that with Residence Life. Right now, there's no intent on doing that. We would keep our regular health and wellness checks, but I see what you're saying, and we'll talk about that.
We want to make sure everyone is not stressing out any more than you probably already are. And if you're a hypochondriac like me, man, am I stressing out. But we will ensure that we're reaching out on a regular basis, and when this 2-week period is over, we're hoping we're back here business as usual, and we're continuing to support each other and to be the great campus we know that we are. And we want to make sure no one is stressed out when they come back, wondering if because someone sneezed next to them, that must mean they were contaminated with this virus. So we want to work hard to de-stress people and to ensure that our campus is clean and safe. Was there another question back there? Please, Harry.
I have quite a few questions regarding my situation as an international student.
Sure.
Obviously, it's not everyone in the building at the moment has the same kind of problem, so I don't mind waiting to the end if I don't want to take up everyone's time, but
Sure. Are there other international students here? If you want to hang out, we'll address some of those specific, because there are different issues, definitely different concerns. Cool. And one more question back here.
Go on.
Sorry, I had a question about the commencement. I know that we're only talking about the 2 weeks after spring break, but for commencement, how do we kind of just plan ahead for that with family and everything? Is there really? We're just going with this within the 2 weeks.
If I had a crystal ball, wow. I
Okay.
mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but
No,
wow,
I
I wish I
understand.
could tell you something. I wish I could tell you something. You know, I just talked to our a graduation speaker yesterday. She's all hyped and ready to go. So we have a big ceremony planned. Our intention at this point is we're moving forward with that.
Gene, I think so.
Yeah, just quick. You've been talking about Blackboard. Are we limited to Blackboard, or can we use other formats, for instance, Google, that we feel are
The Google was just for meetings.
Well,
Yeah.
there are some other things, like Math XL is being used by the mathematics department. You can do that so long as you are communicating with your students, you know. However, you can teach, continue with your instruction, and meet the learning outcomes that you need to do, then go right ahead and do that.
Thank you.
The technical assistance issues that a faculty member may run into, we only support Blackboard. So you run the risk, if you go outside of Blackboard, having to deal with the technical issues on your own. Yes, where are you? Please.
Is there any way we can look into pushing back student scholar days, since we're missing out on 2 weeks of research?
What was the first part of it? Is there any way what?
Can we push back student scholar days?
I would hope so. I would hope we're going to do that, because I want to be able to see those great projects. Those have been a really impressive project. So modifying the schedule makes a lot of sense. Who's the coordinator of Student Scholar Days? I was trying to remember. Yeah. So we'll talk with those
I've already been in contact with them.
to change it.
We're looking into that, yes.
Cool. Please.
So what does this mean for student athletes regarding spring sports?
The NCAA has canceled them. And RMAC, we just found out about 1:30 today. So the student athletes who were planning to stay on campus during spring break because of competition, please check with your coach, because spring sports have been suspended.
So due to that, are we going to get an extra year of eligibility?
You know, NCAA is driving that. So I know that there's not a full year at stake here. We're talking about 2 weeks, and we're talking about, 2 months worth of athletic competition. I'm not sure they would see that as equivalent to a whole year, but we're exploring that with NCAA for sure. Yes, ma'am.
So just for clarity, will we be notified if basically kind of like what happens?
Exactly.
After April 3rd?
What happens after April 3rd? Yes, I said way back at the beginning of our conversation that April 1st, April 2nd, we'll have to be at another decision point. Yes, ma'am.
We have a couple of questions online, President, that we want to try to address. So we just had a couple of questions that haven't come up in this forum that we wanted to address that we've gotten online. So the first one is, what about any exams that need accommodations, such as needing a reader or a scribe at the GTLC during the 2 weeks that exams are on Blackboard and they do not come back? So what about readers, scribes for GTLC during that period on Blackboard?
Yeah, that's an extremely difficult one because you're not here. So I'll work with the GTLC and we'll get some information out. But if you have those accommodations, once again, please contact Afton Gillespie and we will have an answer in regards to how we'll work through that scribe piece.
One more. What about students who need to talk to a counselor on campus? How will that be carried out in regards to class requirements or personal needs?
in regards to class requirements, I'm not sure what that means, but if you need or you have an assigned counselor currently, you can still work with your counselor. We'll do that via the telephone or some other type of closed network. It's extremely important that we maintain confidentiality. So you can't contact your counselor while you're out at the mall or something and on Facebook or Zoom or whatever. So it'll be case by case, but you can still stay in touch with your counselors via telephone. We also have some opportunities to do that through Zoom and some other things, but we can do it. We can still do it. So please contact Aspen and she'll set those up with you.
I think we would all agree that this is inconvenient at best, right? So we are working very, very hard to ensure that your instruction will continue and you still have access to our high quality faculty. And when you need access to a staff member here, main reason why we still are open as a university, so you can still contact us. So we know it's inconvenient, it's not an ideal setting. If we're not doing this because we want to, we're doing this because we have to. So we really do want your patience and help us work through this together, right? So it's not something that is gonna happen very easily without all of us working together, and we'll stumble through a couple of issues and get them fixed as soon as we know about them. So if there's a problem that you're experiencing when you're away and you're trying to complete your classes and continue with your instruction, please make sure you reach out. If Blackboard isn't the way you're getting in touch with your faculty member, then call the university's number and we can get you in touch with the chair of that program to make sure that you have that continuity of instruction. There's a question in the back.
So during this time frame, I had a question posed to me and I didn't know how to answer it, like entities that need proctoring for tests like SAT and stuff like that, how are we handling it?
There is an exam Saturday, isn't there? Saturday. That will, as far as we know, that will continue. We haven't been in contact with the exam company. They have canceled some of those large testing site events on their own. We need to be in touch with them because this could be canceled by them. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I have a lot of questions. So I'm getting questions from our migrant ed staff because we're not sure about how we're supposed to go about with our recruitment, and since we are like a on-campus entity, and university employees as well.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
So my question is how is migrant ed supposed to go about like our work since our job is mainly recruitment?
Kaylee, we'll discuss that separately. We can discuss that with Jasmine and we'll get that settled.
Yes, ma'am. Hi. Please stand up and sing.
As a part of the education department, we have these required observation hours.
Mhm.
I'm sure, of course, there'll be, some flexibility in that.
Yep.
But the question is, if we're on campus, do we still go to those observation hours?
In the K-12 school system?
Yes.
I think you need to work with your faculty. And say it again?
We'll send out an email tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're planning an email tomorrow. Some of the schools are making decisions for us in terms of, whether they stay open. Sure. You can sing later. All of you, 68 West, please sing for us. Yes, sir, in the back.
The Google Meet, is it a module that's already added to our Adams IDU accounts, or can it be added, or do we need account information to log in?
Great question. So right now, if you actually create a new calendar event, one of the options is to add conferencing. You do a little drop down and say, I think it says Google Meet there. Alternatively, you can go to meet.google.com. As long as you log in with your Adams State credentials, it's right there. It's very simple point and click kind of setup. But yeah, if you have troubles, let us know, but it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you for advising, just invite the student to that, and that's how you can get the
Correct. Yeah, and they can use their mobile device. It'll provide a phone call-in number. So if they don't have, a webcam or something like that, they can call in directly. It doesn't have to be video, but it'll work for all those situations.
capability similar to Zoom.
Very similar to Zoom.
Thank you.
the hard copy document you have is really our press release today. That is going out to the local media. It's going out to all of our partners who have relationships with us. So we're trying to inform as many people as possible. The FAQ document that we've kind of been scrolling through, that also will be on the website as soon as we get a chance after this meeting.